If you're a YouTube TV customer, you may lose access to NFL and NBA games on ESPN and ABC. Visit keepmynetworks.com.
What a stooge. What an embarrassing corporate stooge Stephen A. Smith is. I have been telling you guys for years that Stephen A. Smith is the world's highest paid parrot. I've been telling you guys for years that Stephen A. repeats everything, and I mean everything, that the script writers at ESPN ask him to say. But damn, really? You're getting involved in ESPN's carriage dispute with YouTube TV? A public dispute that ESPN is losing? I mean, I know they're paying you $20 million a year. I get it. But that doesn't mean Stephen A. Smith doesn't reserve the right to say no. Gather around, kids. Uncle KC is going to tell you a story. Once upon a time, there were these magical boxes in every living room across America. Unlike the magic boxes at the worldwide leader in woke ESPN that includes nice surprises like Preparation H and supersized wieners, when you open the magical boxes that I'm talking about, they came with this thing called a remote control. When you hit the power button on that remote, you were instantly amazed at the plethora of options that were available to you. Wowzer! I can watch sports during the day, and at nighttime, Cinemax shows the bazooms. Back in the 90s and some of the 2000s, for the small price of $50, $60, $70 a month, and in the late 2000s, probably $80 or $90 a month, cable and satellite, they gave you instant access to everything that you needed all in one place. If your wife wanted to watch Stars Dancing on ABC or The Real Housewives of Guatemala, all of her favorite shows were available in one spot. For men, cable and satellite was the dream. During NFL season, I had Red Zone, I had NFL Network, NBC for Sunday Night Football, ABC for Monday Night Football. Every Saturday, I had access to dozens of college football or college basketball games. During NBA season, the Fox Regional Sports Networks, you guys remember those? The Fox Regional Networks, they carried games that were not nationally televised. If I wanted access to out-of-market games, I could add NBA League Pass to my cable or satellite package. Movies, sitcoms, drama shows, reality TV, sports. It was all available in one place. And the best part was, it was affordable. Over the last few years, they have tried to convince us that streaming is the future. Streaming is better than cable. Cable is far too expensive. We can give you all the same stuff and you'll only pay $10 per month. Isn't that great? Since when have major corporations made it their primary focus to save us money? Speaking of major corporations, over the past week or so, ESPN and YouTube have been engaged in a public fight. Last Thursday, the ESPN networks were removed from YouTube TV over a carriage dispute. Translation: ESPN removed their networks from YouTube TV over money. Naturally, subscribers of YouTube TV are pissed at ESPN, and once you hear some of the details, it becomes obvious that ESPN is in the wrong here, which is probably why ESPN is begging their biggest stars to plead with consumers to sign up for the ESPN app, which will cost you an additional $30 a month. But there is one star who refuses to pander. There is one star who refuses to allow his voice to be used to exploit the consumer. Unsurprisingly, that one star is Patrick Justin McAfee. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel's in the description below. Earlier today on the second channel, talked about Draymond Green nominating Dak Prescott as the captain of the Bum Squad. Now, as you guys know, Uncle KC, not a fan of Draymond Green, but he is absolutely right about Dak Prescott. I explain why Dak Prescott is the bum of bums. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. This week, Pat McAfee addressed the ongoing dispute between ESPN and YouTube. With Pat McAfee collecting checks from ESPN, you would think he would support his employer in this dispute. I mean, Stevie is supporting his bosses, Mike Greenberg, Scott Van Pelt. They're using their platforms to encourage customers to contact YouTube. Hey guys, it's me, Greeny! Contact YouTube today and tell them we want ESPN back. You're going to miss the high-flying action in women's college basketball. You'll also miss the orchestrated combat in the WWE. Who wants to miss that? Me. I do. I want to miss the orchestrated combat in the WWE. Although other stars at ESPN have bitten to the shit sandwich, Pat McAfee wasn't willing to be a corporate stooge. Matter of fact, he actually criticized the idea of using your on-air talent to ask customers to get involved in some doofus carriage dispute. From what I understand, YouTube is asking ESPN to give them a favored nations clause. Now, this is standard procedure between major providers and the networks. And yes, YouTube TV is now a major provider. With over 10 million subscribers, YouTube TV is now, I think, the third largest provider in the country behind Comcast and Spectrum. With a favored nations clause, it guarantees that YouTube does not pay more for ESPN than other providers. Sounds fair, right? For some reason, ESPN is refusing to budge. There is a reason ESPN is begging consumers to get involved. For starters, they are losing the PR battle. Now, they're damn sure losing the PR battle because Pat McAfee crucified them for begging people who are working 9-to-5 jobs to get involved in their doofus dispute with Google. Just think about that for a second. ESPN, a multi-billion-dollar organization, they are asking a WWE fan like Wanker Spanker, who's making minimum wage grilling wiener at 5-Star Frank's. ESPN is asking Spanker to do their dirty work. But the main reason ESPN is asking customers to get involved, for the first time ever, ESPN is negotiating with a partner, a provider, who doesn't need them. These carriage disputes, they're nothing new. This has been happening for decades. But when ESPN is fighting with Dish Network or DirecTV, ESPN has a lot of leverage because cable and satellite providers are reliant on their subscribers to stay in business. That is not the case with YouTube. ESPN is used to being the bully. They're used to dominating smaller companies. Disney, who owns ESPN, their market cap is around $200 billion. Google's market cap is $3.4 trillion, meaning ESPN can't push Google around. YouTube TV is a microscopic part of Google's overall business. Last year, Google generated $350 billion in revenue. Out of that $350 billion, YouTube TV was around $5-10 billion. This is why we are seeing these acts of desperation from ESPN, because they know they need YouTube more than YouTube needs them. Credit to Pat McAfee for having the balls to stand up for sports fans, because once again, that's who is getting screwed here. We are. Greed is destroying sports in America. The reason they tried to convince us that streaming was the future, it wasn't to save us money. It was so they could take more of our money. On average, it costs between $80 and $150 a month in monthly subscriptions to watch sports. But KC, that's the same price as cable. Yeah, but with cable, I had everything in one spot. I didn't have to search through various streaming services to find a game. All I had to do was hit the guide button and everything was right there in front of me. I didn't have to have Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. Didn't have to subscribe to all this garbage so my wife and daughter could watch TV. All I needed was an additional box in their room and everything was in one place. And look, it's not just the greed at ESPN that is ruining sports, which, by the way, it was announced earlier this afternoon that ESPN's betting app is going out of business. To my knowledge, for the first time in history, a sports book is going out of business. They are getting exactly what they deserve. ESPN isn't supposed to be a sports book. It's supposed to be a network. It's supposed to provide analysis on sports. How in the hell can I trust your analysis when you're trying to convince me to bet on games and take my damn money? It's not just the greed at ESPN that is destroying sports. The leagues are also responsible. Right now, the NBA is involved in a gambling scandal. Terry Rozier is being accused of fixing NBA games. With that being the case, you would think that the NBA, at least temporarily, would be cognizant of this. You would think that the NBA would at least attempt to distance itself from gambling, at least for a little while. In the midst of the scandal, you can't watch an NBA game without being bombarded with gambling. Hey fans, we're halfway through the third quarter. Cooper Flagg with a vicious dunk in transition. By the way, fans, the Mavs opened this game as a 3-point favorite. That line has now dropped to 1.5. What value? Place your bets now at weareexploitingyou.com. 20 years ago, they had the perfect setup. If you're a fan of the NBA or Major League Baseball, the Fox regional networks, they broadcast every game for your local team. How much did it cost you? Maybe an extra $5, $10 a month, but that wasn't enough money for the leagues. So the regional networks were dismantled. Now you got to pay for another app just to watch your local team. The question is, where is the breaking point? How long will sports fans allow themselves to be exploited before they have finally had enough? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.